who is Shamoon Siddiqui? What's your most used app? What do you use every day? When we talk about AI, what do you think is going to happen with this in the future? Why should we be keeping an eye on these businesses? Welcome to the JOD Pod, a micro podcast where we interview founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, authors, and coaches. Today, we are joined by Shamoon Siddiqui, the founder of Wordblot.AI. Shamoon, great to have you on the JOD Pod.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to many podcasts from you in the future.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to me, Shamoon. For those of us who don't know who you are and what you do, who is Shamoon Siddiqui?
Oh boy, well that's a tough question, isn't it? Okay, so who is Shamoon? I can give you different dimensions. So the first dimension, let's talk about the basics educationally. I got my bachelor's and master's in computer engineering. For some reason, went back for my MBA. And now 12 years after that, I'm pursuing my PhD in artificial intelligence. So going back to school has been tricky, but supportive wife, supportive family. So they've made it all possible. Career-wise, I've been doing software development since in Intel 386. So for those that know what that means, it's been a while. And then in terms of the maker world, the creators, the indie hackers, whatever brand we're associating ourselves with nowadays, I've had my first startup back in 2005, a book rental company, which now doesn't make sense because we have Kindles, but you got to rewind a little bit there. I've been pretty heavily involved in the crypto space, having created and sold an exchange back in 2000 and I want to say 14, yeah. And I've also had many failures along the way, including in the vacation rental space, in the educational space. So I have probably more failures than successes, but the polite way to phrase it is more learning opportunities than not.
Shamoon, that's wonderful. Incredible, rich experience you've got there in so many different areas. Does this mean that you're going to be a doctor in the not too distant future?
Yeah, it will be Dr. Shamoon Siddiqui if I ever get this PhD finished.
Fantastic. That's going to look great on the credit card when you're going into restaurants. I remember a friend of mine at university was studying for a PhD, and he said it's all about the credit card. It doesn't matter with anything else.
Bragging rights the whole way. The only reason to do it.
Indeed. One of the questions that I ask people a lot is about entrepreneurship. Like, you seem to have started lots of different businesses, which is really exciting to me, and I could probably geek out with you about that for hours. But is entrepreneurship something that you've always wanted to follow?
I have this restlessness, where if I'm not creating something, if I'm not doing something active, I get a little bit antsy. And given the tools, and now even with no code and low code, right, the excuse has gone away for many people. You can do something, you can put value out into the world. And it's really great to be able to connect with people through entrepreneurship, not only fellow entrepreneurs, but also the audience that you're serving. When someone shoots you that email or that tweet saying your whatever is really cool, it's fulfilling. It calms some of that restlessness.
It's one of the things I love about the internet and entrepreneurship, and particularly that kind of community online, is that it's so supportive, and you can find your tribe, whatever you might call them, anywhere in the world. You know, I've got some great friends in the US, in Australia, in Hong Kong that I've made like in the last 18 months through lockdown because of Zoom and other platforms like it. It's fantastic.
It's huge because in a traditional business, maybe competition matters. You don't want to divulge too much. Maybe the bakery down the street is going to cannibalize your business. On the internet, all of those things go away. You can be incredibly open with your strategy, with your goals, with your secret sauce. Sure, it can be stolen, but the internet's large enough where it doesn't actually matter.
Even your problems, like share your problems online. People will come to you with solutions, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm finding that the best response that I get is when I'm authentic, when I share my challenges, my successes, my strategy, how I'm posting something on Reddit and how it bombs sometimes, right? Sometimes it gets removed or flagged for spam, and sometimes people respond well. And not only does that generate interest, but sharing that experience generates more interest.
The authentic voice is so important, Shamoon. I wish you would talk to some of my clients, because for a day job, I interview founders and repurpose that as content for them online. And they're so terrified of something not, something that's sounds like it's not working, or there's an issue, or there's a problem. It's like, no, that's what you'd want to talk about. That's the richness of your story. No hero story says like you won this, you won this, you won this, you won this, you won this. There's ups and downs all the way, and telling that story is so important. That's why you're on the podcast, isn't it, Shamoon? I know.
That's it, and that's why I find that by sharing those failures, you get cheerleaders, you get people that want you to succeed, that want you to get past it, that feel like they're in the journey with you. Earlier on, I had a Facebook group for Wordblot, and there was a lot of challenges. Things weren't working out, but those people would cheer me on and say, "Oh, you fixed this thing? That's great. Now it works."
And they'll be fans for a long time.
That's the hope.
Shamoon, there's one question I've asked all my guests, which is all about getting your first customer, and it's something about entrepreneurship, and particularly for those people that are maybe thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, that I think is a bit of a mental block. You come up with an idea, you build a website, you start your Facebook group, you get your Twitter handle, you send out some social media posts, but then you don't actually get that first customer. And I think a lot of people stop there and then. Can you share some stories, or maybe about how you got your first ever customer, or maybe how you got your first customer for Wordblot, and what that process looked like?
So if we take a little trip down memory lane to 2005, my co-founder and good friend George and I we would go to Barnes and Noble and read. We were avid readers, but we were far too cheap to buy books. So we noticed that in the same Barnes and Nobles that we would go to, there would be just handfuls of people, and the same people over and over again, that are just sitting there and just reading and not buying. And that was the genesis of how we created BookSwim, which allowed you to rent books by mail. So to get that first customer, we just walked up to people and interviewed them and said, "Hey, we have this cool product we developed. What do you think?" People were nice. Some people were like, "Just leave me alone." But through that, it generated. We went to malls and we'd find people reading, and we'd just approach them and say, "Hey, how much do you pay for that book?" "Oh, $14. Well, wouldn't you actually pay $14 to get 4 books a month, 5 books a month?" And it grows from there, right? And it's a matter of, if you could see yourself using your product, you've got a built-in customer, right? So I'd say the things that I've done that have succeeded, I sort of built selfishly for myself, right? Like, I wanted this tool, this service, this thing to exist in the world, so I would make it. With Wordblot, I found my initial tribe with people that wanted to write, but just couldn't find their voice. And I suffer from that myself. I've got a million great ideas. I could write a billion blog posts, but if you just ask me to sit down and write, I'm stuck. I need a little assist. So I'm like, okay, let's make that tool that can help me.
Scratching your own itch, Shamoon.
That's it, because that way you don't get bored, right? Because you do have to listen to the customer and validate your ideas through their feedback, but also you have to have somewhere to start from, and you are the best starting point. You know what your problems are.
And did I hear the name of that startup correctly? You said it was called BookSwing?
BookSwim, like swimming in an ocean of books, yeah.
I will amend my note there. BookSwing maybe is a very different startup that we could talk about another day. Shamoon, so tell me more about Wordblot. Who is this aimed at? Who's the person that's listening to this now that potentially is the ideal customer for what you're building there?
Sure. So the one sentence thing is, Wordblot is an AI powered writing assistant. That's very generic. It doesn't explain very much. So who the actual person is someone that has to write a blog post, maybe at volume. It's a student that maybe English isn't their native language. So while they're academically inclined, they need a little help with some of that phrasing. It's the marketer that just needs to generate email newsletters, but isn't sure of the best way to do it, or needs input from some other entity, right? Usually someone to bounce off of, but now we have AI that can help you there. So our key focus really is long form content. So if you're, in fact, we have an entire group that's novelists. They write books and they need help coming up with the way their character is going to twist. We've got plenty of academics and students that are just trying to say, I know how to write this paper. I know what I want to say. I just need a little bit help getting over that hurdle. It's that, I mean, I write my own blog posts with Wordblot because I know what I want to say. I just need a little bit of help kind of getting that phrasing going. So the ideal user is someone that has to write some sort of long form content, and long form could be whatever you think it is, right? It could be a lengthy email, it could be a blog post, it could be a book, and just needs a little bit of help getting some of their phrasing down. And that's where our AI kicks in and helps you generate that content.
So what would be the process? So let's say I want to write an ebook and publish it for Christmas based on all the interviews that I've done for the JOD pod. How does that work? Talk me through the steps.
So there's two aspects. So first, there's a handful of little tools that we've developed. So for example, content expander. Maybe you have the headline or the chapter title, right? So how to fail. Putting just that in, we can expand that out to a full paragraph on how to fail, and it'll be unique. It'll be entirely yours. There won't be any plagiarism. It's not copying and pasting from anywhere. But once you have in your document, imagine autocomplete, right? So your iPhone kind of predicts the next word, but imagine it predicted the next sentence, the next paragraph, the next page, and that's what Wordblot will actually do for you. Now, it won't write for you, right? So it'll give you the next paragraph, but you have to go back and edit it, tweak it, because it doesn't know what you're thinking. But the words are there now. Now you can edit and say, oh, it took it into this direction. Let me just tweak it a little bit and have it go into this direction, and then predict again. So rinse, repeat. So it's writing with you, and that's why it's an assistant, not an entire copywriting tool.
And there have been examples of people that have written whole books off the back of that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. And I think anybody that's listening to this, one of the things that I always say in the way that I create content or talk to clients about creating content is trying to avoid starting with a blank page. And something like an AI assistant where you can throw some ideas into it that will then proliferate across the screen, across that blank page, and just give you stuff that then you can go in and edit. And then if you see a nice idea, you can then noodle away on that idea and expand and expand and expand. And hopefully get over that imaginary disease called writer's block, because you've got stuff in front of you already that you can play with.
We're all amazing critics, right? So if your friend asks you, hey, what do you think of my website? You'll rip it apart for them. You'll be an amazing critic. If you give me a blog post you've written, I'll point out all the flaws, right? We're great at that. But you ask me to write it, I'm stuck, right? And that's really where Wordblot will help. It gets rid of that blank page for you. Stephen King, he's got this quote, and I don't remember it offhand, but something along the lines of, there's no great writers, just great rewriters, right? So even he'll do 10,000 words a day, but he'll edit and revise over and over again. So all Wordblot's going to give you is that first draft.
I tell you what, there might be an interesting thing. One of the big things in podcasting, which I'm sure you're aware of, is reviews and the lack of people that review podcasts, and actually how important it is. If you want to support a podcast, if you want to support the podcast, you got to head to Apple Podcasts, then you got to jump in and write a review. And actually, I think a lot of people get to the stage of going there, subscribing, leaving a 5-star review.
Hitting the 5 stars, yeah.
And then they see a blank review screen, and they're like, how do I even start to leave a review? And maybe there's something around AI that could help people get over that blank box syndrome. So
I like to read, and every time I finish a book, like Goodreads will say, okay, what'd you think? 1 to 5. So I'll give it a 2, 3, 4, 5. And it says, okay, now type something. And I'm like, what do I say, right? And I just get frozen. I want to say a lot. I want to either support the author or let people know that this book was just not worth their time, whatever the case may be. But I don't know what to say. I have everything noodling up there, but just getting it out there. But if maybe there was a pre-written review, like 5 stars, this was great fiction or sci-fi or whatever the case may be, I can say, actually, I don't agree with that. And it's just much easier to change. Something I'll look into. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it's so. One of the things that we do with clients to help them create content is have conversations. because basically the idea of it is like, if you're on a Zoom call or something like similar with someone, it's very difficult for you to sit there in silence. Like it's really awkward. So you talk about what you're doing, and you can then turn that into content. And it's almost the opposite of a blank page where you can't write anything. If you've got someone there to converse with, if you've got some text in front of you to edit, you can't help yourself. That interaction just happens. Shamoon, I could talk to you about this for absolutely hours, but we're on a deadline. We need to make this a nice micro podcast. Are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Absolutely, bring them on.
Good on you. What's your, apart from your own, or maybe it is your own, what's your most used app? What do you use every day?
So Blot's obviously the one that I'm pummeling away at constantly, but when it comes to helping me run something, Mixpanel has been a godsend. It lets me analyze user behavior. It gives me validation. I'm not just shooting in the dark saying, hey, maybe people really like the content expander feature. It lets me know how much people like it. Do they like it? Are they using it? It lets me split things up into all sorts of cohorts. Really just awesome for analytics.
And that connects into your app, does it? And sees how people use that online. Yep. That's fascinating. That's great. So you really understand what they're about and what they like and what they don't like, so you can choose the features. Brilliant. That's a new one to me, but thanks for sharing. Anybody who's going to be building any apps out there, certainly have a look at Mixpanel. What's your most recommended book then, Shamoon? If you've read thousands of books, what's the top one? What do you recommend to people the most?
I just finished a book by an author, Claire North. It's called The First 15 Lives of Harry August. I can't gush enough about how amazing this book is. I've read a ton of fiction, a ton of sci-fi, a ton of mystery, a ton of just everything. But this book, I actually felt legitimately sad when it was over. Not because of the book or what happened in it, but just because it was over. I wouldn't be able to continue on this journey.
I think I saw your tweet about this. Did you tweet about this the other day? I
did, yeah. I actually tweeted to the author just to thank her for this. And it's old, not really. It's like 7 years old now. I hear or I read rumblings that they're going to make it a movie at some point. I almost don't want them to, because it's like this little thing that I have, right?
And now you've told everyone. So that I've got this right. So it's by Claire North, and it's The First 15 Lives of Harry August.
That's right. Yep.
Wow, what a great recommendation. I've just finished reading all the Terry Pratchett's in order. Okay. So nice. I'm looking for a new book recommendation. So I'll be jumping on my Kindle and having a look at that. Thanks for the recommendation, Shamoon. Who's your?
I can go on for days about that book.
We'll do another podcast about that another day.
We will.
Book Swing, we'll call that podcast. Who's your favorite YouTuber or podcaster that you can't get enough of?
So there's this YouTube channel. It's called 2 Minute Papers, and I can't pronounce his name, but he reviews just AI papers, academic papers, in 2 to 5 minutes, which is a great way to just stay abreast of everything happening in AI, all the latest and greatest that I probably should read as a researcher, but I'm just, how much could you possibly read? Awesome, fantastic summaries, great visuals, and he really gets the heart of exactly what the innovation was.
I think people that curate content like that and kind of give you is it the cliff notes? That's the right terminology of that. It's so useful, because I can't remember where I saw it, but it was something like you can only ever read 1,000 books in your life. Like, which to me sounds like such a small amount of books, considering how many books there are out there.
Yep.
And I imagine academic papers are, 10,000 words, something like that, 20,000 words long.
Depending on the paper, enough to put you to sleep, yeah.
Certainly if they've been written by AI. But but you don't have the chance to read all of them. So you need to actually then choose the books you read in full really carefully, and having cliff notes or 2 minute paper versions of them that you can look at and then make a decision whether or not you want to go and deep dive on it, I think is really useful. And there's a few other apps out there that do it for books and courses, etc. And I just think it's a useful way for people to make decisions about how they spend their time. So that's a really interesting recommendation. Thanks for that, Shamoon. Who's an up-and-comer, someone that we should be keeping an eye on for the future, maybe in your sector, maybe in your industry?
So I don't want to attribute it to a person necessarily, but OpenAI is doing a lot with all this writing technology and everything. So I'm constantly watching what they're doing. I don't love that it's a huge corporation now. I'd rather it be small individual researchers. But another company that is trying to democratize it is a company called Hugging Face. So they're much more in the startup-y realm.
Okay. So when we talk about AI, what do you think is going to happen with this in the future? Why should we be keeping an eye on these businesses?
So I think that it's been said 1,000 times, like data is the new oil, and all these sort of nice quips that people can use as sound bites. But what AI really enables is, I don't know how old anybody is, but TV commercials, right? The idea behind TV commercials is you got one shot to make one commercial to appeal to as many people as possible, right? And that's tricky. So now YouTube comes around where ads can be targeted to some specific segments, right? So if I'm watching my 2-minute papers, the ad that comes up, it will eventually figure out that I like this or I like that kind of coffee, and it can target me there more specifically. Most AI, I think, is currently being used for advertising and targeting. But when we get out of that, when we get to the next level, right? So what if my entire OS can be AI customized to me? What if my workflow, my car, can be customized to me? And that's really what at least this generation of AI enables, is just incredible customization down to the person.
And that sounds exactly what I want, because I've been watching commercial television. We've got the European football on over here at the moment, and I've had to watch commercial television in order to catch it. And I'm watching adverts for things that I have not thought about. Because I haven't watched commercial television for years. I watch Netflix and iPlayer. I don't have to watch any of this other stuff. Whereas I jump on YouTube and the ads are so pertinent to what I've been searching for or what I'm thinking about. I actually really appreciate it, and I make purchasing decisions, or I've purchased things based on those adverts. I can't remember the last time I saw a generic advert and thought that's for me. So if that's going to happen in the future in lots of other areas, I'm well up for that. That sounds fascinating. Thanks for shedding a light on that. Shamoon, what's the best place for people to find out more about Wordblot and get in contact with you?
So the best way to get in touch with me is just Twitter @ShamoonS. You can just check for Wordblot. You can go to Wordblot.AI. Check out the site, sign up, free trial. I can share email and all that, but the best thing, just tweet at me, DM me, ShamoonS on Twitter.
Fantastic. And Shamoon's got a very active Twitter account. Do you write all of those tweets yourselves, or is there an AI bot in the background there creating some magic?
I do have a little tool in the works that will help you create tweets based on what you're trying to go for. So I am working on that. Now, Twitter doesn't allow automated creation, so it's not going to do anything for you, but it'll give you ideas, and that's good enough.
Right. Fantastic. There we have it. Shamoon Siddiqui is the founder of Wordblot.AI, an AI-powered writing assistant that helps bloggers write more consistently. Shamoon helps writers focus on what matters most, creating great copy. He got his first customer by stalking customers in Barnes & Noble back in 2005 with his business partner, literally going up to them and asking them questions about how often they buy books, would they potentially be a customer of his new startup BookSwim. A very interesting idea, very direct way of finding your first customer. But if you're thinking about starting a business, maybe you should go and find out where your customers are hanging out, where they're spending money, and just go and have a conversation with them. You never know what ideas you might come up with. His app that he loves is Mixpanel, so he can understand how his customers are using his app currently and where he can spend his time better to improve that app and make the experience better for his current customers. He's just finished reading a very interesting book, The First 15 Lives of Harry August. What a great title. That's by Claire North. We'll link to that into the show notes so we can all head to our Kindles and buy that so we can read that over the next few weeks. He loves watching 2-minute papers, the academic reviews channel about AI on YouTube, something that you can use to become very clued up on AI without maybe getting his head lost in all those academic papers that are being pumped out all over the place. And you can, and he thinks we should be keeping an eye on companies such as OpenAI and Hugging Face. The future is AI. We're going to have a individualized experience through everything that we're doing. It sounds fascinating, Shamoon. And you can get in contact with Shamoon over on his Twitter. It's at Shamoon S. That's ShaMoons. Check out Shamoon's feed. I think it's quite funny. I quite enjoy seeing his content. And check out Wordblot. Go to his website. That's Wordblot.AI. WORDBLOT.AI. Shamoon, thanks for joining us today on the JOD Pod.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us today on the JOD Pod. To make sure that you don't miss out on any of these interviews with other founders just like Shamoon, you need to play the YouTube algorithm game. You need to hit subscribe, hit the like button, bang the bell so you get a notification every time we upload an episode. And I challenge you, let's ask Shamoon some absolute curveball AI-focused questions in the links below. Maybe ask him his next book suggestion. Who knows? These questions will help Shamoon, they'll help this video, they'll help out the channel, and it will just make you feel that nice altruistic, positive feedback loop that you're all missing out on at the moment because you're all in lockdown. Drop a question in the comments below. Hopefully you've been inspired by Shamoon and his stories about being a founder. Please go and be inspired. Go and build something for yourself and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. Thanks for joining us today on the JOD Pod. If you enjoyed this interview, why don't you check out some of these other interviews that we've done on the JOD Pod. More inspirational CEOs, coaches, entrepreneurs, founders, and authors. I'm sure there's something here that will inspire you to build something new.